Myanmar's violent political crisis is fast turning into a health crisis too, with more than 4,000 COVID cases recorded in 24 hours. Prison officials say 40 are detainees in Myanmar's main jail, where some of the thousands of anti-coup protesters are being held. But at a time when Myanmar is needing its doctors more than ever, security forces are increasingly targeting medical professionals.
In this footage, Myanmar's first responders being viciously beaten with rifle butts and batons for doing their job. Since the February 1st military coup, medics and doctors have worked on the front lines of the pro-democracy protest movement, saving lives. But increasingly, the country's security forces are targeting those medical workers, with the regime issuing dozens of arrest warrants for nurses, medics and doctors in recent weeks. Burmese Australian doctor Raymond Way has had friends and colleagues beaten while treating protesters.
A lot of people have been, I was told, arrested, and while on the way to the detention center, they got beaten up. Quite humiliated in front of the public. One of the orthopedic surgeons has been arrested.
The Australian Medical Association says the attacks are a horrific new chapter in Myanmar's protests and is calling for the Australian government to consider imposing firmer economic sanctions in response.
The head of the vaccination command force has been arrested, and the stories that we're receiving are that the number of COVID cases in Myanmar is surging to unprecedented levels.
What's the worst case scenario here?
So the health of the population is seriously at risk, not just from the attacks from the military itself, but from the secondary effects of the attacks on the health profession specifically.
The clampdown on medics could not come at a worse time for Myanmar as the country grapples with a new wave of COVID-19 infections, with more than 4,000 cases of the virus recorded in the last 24 hours.
State-run media is running photos of nurses and doctors and issuing arrest warrants against them.
Human rights groups are now assisting medical staff who have fled the country.
And I think this is a really, a well-founded fear that people are going into hiding. Being put in a Myanmar prison means that you could be tortured. Some people have been tortured to death in prison since February.
Meanwhile, the number of medics fleeing for their lives will continue to rise. Henry Zwartz, SBS World News.